today. It's going to be more of a AMA type style. But let us see what is going on here with my tweets to tweets. Hold on, just going through it myself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is one of the things that I wish was a little easier to set up. Okay, hold on. Just a sec. And questions or comments always welcome. My DMs are open. We're going to have a free flowing discussion today on how to best monetize your brand. We're going to do AMA style um, this week because unfortunately my guest was a little under the weather today. So yeah, so here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Let me send this thing out. Hold on. Okay, pardon the delay. Boom, copy, and we will go from there. And I'm going to set up all my recording stuff, all of it, all of it. Okay, I'm tracking everything. Okay, good. Great. So now this is tracking. Beautiful, beautiful. Fantastic, fantastic. One last thing I have to do, then we'll be good to go. I went to a conference last weekend, or this past weekend, with Tony Robbins, which was very well attended. I attended virtually, and a lot of great content, a lot of great resources for not only creators, but mostly entrepreneurs, bootstrapping entrepreneurs, or folks that don't seek out extra funding. So join us. And there's actually going to be an award next year. I'm pretty excited about that. Bootstrap Award. Okay, so boom, I'm done with that. Let's get to the chatty chats. And okay, great. So that's in the nest. Beautiful. Great. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is what I learned from that particular session. I thought it was phenomenal. So what we talked about specifically was how to grow a business. What do you need to do first? What are the critical elements to scale? I think one of the biggest things that is missing when people create a business and or have a um, whether they are a creator creating content or just like a regular digital business now is they don't take into consideration the back end, and the back end is where you really start profiting. Basically, a lot of times people put a lot of emphasis on this initial product, the book for example, or the t-shirt or whatever that might be. The real money isn't made on that initial offer. The real money is made on the back end, meaning that the upsell, the order bump, cross sells, the one time offers. So, this whole conference that I went to that I'm going to summarize was specifically designed to teach all the various ingredients to grow a business from not only seven figures, which is probably um, that's the goal of everybody that went to the conference, to create a seven figure business, which is $1 million business or 2 comma club business. The people that were at the conference not only set up a 7 figure business, but an 8 or a 9 figure business. And they were talking about how they did it. Many of the people there were generating, not many, a good percentage, I would have to say, or we're generating 6 figures per month or $100,000 or more per month. This could be done without a major team, without a major, company. You could theoretically do this just being a solopreneur, um, if you have the right infrastructure. So we're going to talk basically of how that's done. I really want to address one particular question first. Hopefully they could join us for the conversation. I did send out a tweet, and I'm going to put the tweet up to top. So if you actually want to comment on it, that would be fantastic. I'll put it. So the question of today was, what is the biggest question or challenge you have about monetizing a brand on social media? So the question that was answered, or the response to that was, and hopefully they'll be able to join. How do I get major brands and venture capitalists to actually pay for what they see me building in public as a bootstrap, rather than take my ideas and concepts and use them as their own, leaving me unpaid with no IP? That's an extremely fantastic question. Now, I alluded to this earlier today, early in the conversation, where, um, and I don't know if you've ever seen the success iceberg, if you will, where you see a good portion of the iceberg is at the very top, is very small, but the majority of it is underneath the water. Um, I would say a lot of businesses, bootstrap businesses, are that way, where the initial offering is merely to test out the market with their avatar. Um, and the majority of the revenue that they generate are in the back end. Or once somebody buys something, they're going to get the upsell or the order bump and things like that. Let me give you a very basic example. So you have a book, right? So you write a book, so you sell the book. So you can sell the book for whatever, $21, $19, whatever, right? And if you run advertising for the book, right, you could only spend about $20 per click or whatever. Otherwise, you're going to be losing. And if and as you know, with Facebook ads, if you're paying per click, right? So you need to justify those clicks by having revenue, more revenue that you generate from the ad. Obviously, that's the way it works. But what ends up happening with most people is they only advertise the book, and they only have the book for sale. Another way to do this, structuring it much better, that makes the advertising process easier, is once you buy the book, you could offer the audio version of the book for an upsell of, say, $17, right? This is one way. You could do it a bunch of different ways. I'm just going to go through one scenario. So once you have that, so it is the book and the upsell. Okay. Then when they're about to purchase, the next step is you could say, hey, this book, it's a do-it-yourself book. If you want me to help you with the concept of this book, and I'm talking nonfiction business books at this point in time. We could talk about if you have a fictional book or a romance book, that's a whole nother thing. But let's talk about more of a business book where someone needs to learn something that you have to offer, that you're an expertise in. So I see Eileen here. She's very good with social media, has been doing it for several years. I'm going to leverage her brand as an example, just to make it clear. So she could easily put together a guide or a book that's basically how to leverage streaming services like YouTube and Habs to generate revenue. What do you need to do technically? What you need to do, to make that happen. So she could put that book together. Boom. Then she could say, hey, look, you could buy the book for like $17. I have an upsell, which is the video tutorial. So you could get a video tutorial of each chapter where I go into a little bit more detail, and that's an additional 20. So that's good. So then when someone goes and they might or might not purchase that, order bump, they might go to the next page, and the next page says, hey, look, instead of going through this on your own, I'm willing to help you. Why don't you, if you want, I have a fully fledged course that goes into much more detail about every chapter. So instead of it being like 5 minutes video overview like the guide, I'm going to spend an hour to go over each chapter with a worksheet and with to-dos and with all the technology that I use, so that you have that there. And that is, say, $30 or maybe $30 a month, because I'm updating it every month. So you get the latest update. So she has the upsell, right? So then the next component is, okay, so if you're interested in that, as a matter of fact, whether they buy that or not, one of the last things you could offer them is, hey, not only do I have the self-paced course, but I also have a community of other people that are streaming, and you could join that community for, like, say, $75 a month. And in that community, you're not only going to get my weekly suggestions that is exclusive to the group, you're also going to network with people in other industries and learn how they are putting together their strategies on streaming. And that membership, you're also going to get the discounts, because I have an affiliate relationship with a lot of these software companies, and you get a discount on all the products that I recommend. I'm going to interview someone every month on, streaming, for example. So when you have a structure laid out like that, it makes running advertising so much more compelling, because you could even lose money on the advertising, but because the average cart value, which is called ACV, average cart value, is greater than the advertising cost, you make a profit. Most of the times creators, because they're just creating, they don't understand um, this sales process. So for those people that are just joining, I'm doing a recap of a conference that I attended last week, Funnel Hacking Live, and it was talking about various ways to grow as an entrepreneur, and I'm applying this to creators. And I think it's very important that as a creator, you understand these options. And I'm also addressing a question that was, talked about as part of the question that's pinned to the top of the nest right there, which is what's the biggest question or challenge you have. So I'm giving a very detailed description. And if you want, you could actually respond to that on Twitter if you have a question about, or if you have a big question, list your biggest question or the biggest challenge you have about monetizing your brand on social media. If you respond to that tweet, I'll answer it here. If you want to speak, remember this is a recorded space. So I am actually creating a podcast from this particular space. So you can send me a DM, you could enter the tweet if you want, or have any questions about monetizing your brand. So I'm just answering the question that they had earlier. I'm going to repeat that for those people that joined later. The question is, how do I get major brands and venture capitalists to actually pay for what they see me building in public as I bootstrap, rather than take my ideas and concept and use them as their own, leaving me unpaid with no IP? So we're going through the various ways that you could do that. One way is don't necessarily build in public, right? Why don't you just build in a manner that is catering to your audience? One way to do that is similar to what is done in late night television. Late night television, there is infomercials that are run about a variety of different products, slap chop, whatever the case might be. And um, at the very end, you get to order it. And one of the interesting things about ordering these things is it takes an unusually large amount of time for the product to arrive. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed that. It doesn't necessarily, how can we get something in 2 days or in one day or in a couple of hours from Amazon? Same fundamental product, but then it takes 3 to 4 weeks from, to get a product that they're advertising along. The reason why they have such a long period of time to deliver is because a lot of times they're testing out the market and they don't have enough volume or even the product made. So you're actually, when you pay, you're paying for the product to be made in most of the cases, right? So stepping back and understanding that mentality, you could, in theory, um, do the same type of thing. So Eileen, going back to Eileen and what she has to offer, she could say, "Hey, look, I have a book on how to best leverage streaming to grow your brand." And she could do exactly what I'm doing. Ask, what's your biggest question about, um, you know, growing your brand using streaming? And by doing that, she asks the ideal client or ideal avatar, in this particular case, her ideal customer, what they want, and she gives it to them. So she could sell the book and say, "Hey, look, I'm putting the finishing touches of this book together. I just want to get your number one question to make sure that I'm addressing it specifically for you." And she runs that campaign. She could even run an ad for that, and basically she collects all those answers, all those questions, answers them, puts them in the book, and then she knows exactly what they want and she gives it to them and she actually sells it to them. And then those people can in turn become testimonials, because you could run a testimonial campaign where you're asking them, "Oh, how did the book change your business? How did you know it change your life?" or things like that. And then that becomes um, content that you could use to promote the book in the future, right? So if you have any questions or comments, go to my DMs, ask it. If you want to pick up the mic, grab the mic, let me know. We'll have this open dialogue conversation. It's not really as complex as people think. There are some little techniques and frameworks that are so essential. But as creators, this opens up a lot of opportunities. And this is often not discussed with creators. This concepts that I'm talking about are mostly for people that are bootstrapping their business. Um, One of the interesting things that was discussed during this conference is that there's a lot of companies, and she alluded to this in the question that was asked, which is like venture capitalist, for example. There's different ways to grow the business. Everyone has its pros and cons. I personally um, don't really like having sold a portion of my business, that whole Shark Tank thing. The reason being is that I've known a lot of people that, like, for example, one of my friends created TaskRabbit. So, and they created that in Boston, and also Runkeeper and a bunch of these other apps, CoachUp, and so on and so forth. And I've seen them, and not that they necessarily have a bad experience, but I've seen a lot of um, founders get a lot of this money and they don't turn a profit. And if they do, they've actually get, delegated to becoming um, a kind of almost like a project manager of the company that they founded, which is kind of bizarre. So this is one of the things you have to consider when you seek out venture funding or seek out external investors and things like that. Unless you're dealing at the angel level, you where they don't expect anything back. And when people invest in companies, they generally don't expect anything back. But I find it much easier to control my destiny and control the entire realm and partner up with people to grow versus seeking out venture capital. So that's something to consider when you, as a creator, need to look at that. Now, as a creator, it's very rare that you're going to get a venture capitalist to invest in you as a creator. This is more of an entrepreneurship example. As a creator, what there is a variety of different creator funds. Now, what I found in my research is that these creator funds, they're not really they're not really covering your lifestyle. They're just covering maybe equipment and things like that. Um, but they're not you're not going to retire off any of these creator funds from what I've seen. So it's just $200 to $300 or whatever it is. It's going to vary obviously from platform to platform. The key for a creator to generate high amounts of revenue is to cultivate an audience, to really have an audience that's engaged, the one that responds to what you do, the one that attends the, whatever platform that you're on with regularity. Now, I see a lot of people here, and I appreciate everyone that comes here, but I know certain people come here all the time, which is great. So these are my, um, you know, loyal community members, right? Um, I have really challenging times with the fans, calling people fans and stuff. I don't know. It's just personally me, but I like more of a community. And I'm taking the hits, I'm doing the research, and I'm bringing it back to the community. It's almost like a village, And back in the days in the village, there used to be one person that would go and seek out where the food is and come back and tell them, oh, okay, here's where all the food is. Let's go. Bees do this as well. If you ever study bees, bees actually come back to the hive and they actually do this dance in a pattern, and that pattern indicates where the food is, where the pollen is, so that they could generate honey. So there's some bee facts for you. So ultimately, what you have to consider is who you're serving. There's three fundamental questions that I've learned that was great from this conference, and this was actually something I think everyone should do. And I'm also implementing a lot of these things. So, number one thing is, what is my avatar already buying from other companies? So let me step back. Who is your avatar? Who do you want to serve? That becomes very important. In a previous discussion that I had in the Power of Connection with Bobby and with Samantha earlier today, Samantha Postman, we were talking about branding, personal branding. So it's the personal branding has to do with you. I'm going to stop right now, and I want to get a quick lay of the land. For those people that are here in the Twitter Spaces, I want to could you put up 100 if you have established your own personal brand or you feel that you have it established? And if you haven't, just put the fist up. So 100 if you have your brand and you feel confident with your brand, and and you feel confident because people recognize you for the brand that you've established. So if you do, put 100 for that. And if you haven't, just put the fist up. I'm very curious to see where people are there. And it's okay either way, doesn't really matter to me. But if you feel that you've established your brand, you put the 100. I just want to get a sense of that. And fist if you have not. Okay. So let's start with the personal brand really quick so that we could proceed. And I'm going to take a moment right now just to see if there's questions in DMs. Nope, there's not. Okay, great. All right. And again, my DMs are open. If you want to send on some tweets, Monetize Mondays, the hashtag, I'll check those throughout. So brand, when it's sometimes difficult to wrap your head around the brand as an individual because there's a certain level of egocentricity and there's all these things because we look at brands traditionally they're inanimate objects, Coca-Cola, things like that. So when you look at brands, you generally think of a celebrity or things like that, or influencers. That's a heated kind of term or controversial type term nowadays. But I would first start, if you haven't established your brand, is figure out what that is. What do you like to do? What you're passionate about? And I know that sounds trite, and it fundamentally is, but that's what's going to keep you motivated. If you're doing something that you love, um, you could wrap a business around it. There's various ways to do so. So I would suggest starting there. Once you get that brand established, then you're going to establish, then you're going to determine who do you serve. Because essentially businesses are solving problems. You, even as a creator, you're solving a problem. And that problem could be entertainment. It could be boredom, right? It could be doing something silly. I know that there's certain people, like the top YouTube creator last year was like a seventh grade kid, and don't quote me on the age, but all he did was open up toys. That's it, and he made millions of dollars just doing that. So that the customer, his ideal avatar was other people, other kids probably watching this. Maybe some brands kind of tuning in to see what it is, but mostly it was he had a cultivated community. He cultivated a community of people that were interested in all the toys, and he probably had some sort of sense of personality there. So you could do the same type of thing. One of the things that I've always said is that success leaves blueprints. So establish yourself as a brand. Look at people that you admire, that you want to be like. Everybody's unique, so there's no competition. You just take the elements of various different people. For example, Gary Vee, he is for some people a potty mouth, aggressive hustler, and some people resonate with that, and some people don't. Tony Robbins, same type of charismatic, like bold, outgoing type of person. There's that. Then there's people like Pat Flynn, not as like very boisterous, but he still developed a community. Then you have John Lee Dumas, another person that is out there. He got well known for doing a podcast a day, which is great. So figure out the type of person you want to become as a creator, right? There's so much opportunities out there. So just, there's no need to duplicate anybody else, right? Just use them as reference points. I want to take this from Tony. I want to take this from Gary. I want to take this from Pat Flynn. I'm going to take this from John Lee Dumas. I want to take this from whoever, right? Male, female, doesn't matter, right? So from there, find out who their audience is by just going through their social profiles and who's commenting. What are they buying from these people? Because that's going to give you a sense of what you could potentially provide that same audience, if it's the same audience, if you have a similar audience. And because we're living in the world of everything is public, you could actually figure out what people want and create it just based off of looking at comments. One of the biggest hacks that I've learned is any of these people that are authors, go to their Amazon page, go through and look at the books that they've written, then go through the comment section. The comment sections is going to let you know, for the most part, what's good and bad about the book, or what's missing in the book in particular. And what do you do with that missing content that's not in that book? You create the content based off of the feedback. So you don't even need. So one of the questions you might have had before is like, oh, Celine, I don't have an audience. I don't have a fan base. I don't have nothing. I'm just getting started. Well, just go to those people that already have an audience and figure out what's missing from their content and see if it fits into what you have to offer, and create something based off of that. One of the easiest things that I have found is in Twitter Spaces in particular, you could interview this like a podcast, and you could bring people in and just say, hey, look, I have a Twitter Spaces a podcast, and it's all about great leaders, right? And you are one of the people that I admire. I like this blog post that you wrote about this. You comment there, and you go from there. As a matter of fact, for those people that are interested, I do have access to a great script that you could use to email people that you want to work with, no matter how influential they are. It's like the from like John Lee Dumas. We'll figure out if I could pass it along or whatever. I'll point you to his direction so you can get it. But it is essentially the blueprint to success. So there's ways to engage influential folks uh, into your world. It's not that big of an obstacle. There's like there's essentially a formula for that. So going back to the fundamental question that I mentioned earlier about seeking funding, there's ways that you could go about growing your business without having to seek out anything extra from anybody else. And the way you do that, you could do it very systematically. Number one, know who you are, know what you want your personal brand to be. One thing that is very crucial is that you don't need to be 100% there. You could be on your journey, and all you're doing is reporting on your journey. That's very vital. When I started Monetize Monday, no one knew me to that level regarding Monetize Monday. I created that by simply figuring out what was missing in the Twitter Spaces world. Even till this day, there's no one that's actually that I know of. Maybe there is, but I haven't seen anyone that's consistently talking about monetizing as a creator, right? So pick a lane. There's so many different opportunities here on this particular platform. We're all early adopters in this process. So figure out what that is, right? Um, Once you do that, then this is when the work begins. You have to be very committed. When the reason why I was going to cancel this week is because the person that has scheduled to speak had an emergency, and then they had their sick this week, so it's a situation. I love talking about this day or night. So that's my brand. Is I'm really loving uh, exploring this concept of monetization and sharing what I've learned. I don't have all the answers, and that's the great thing about this process for me is that I discover the answers, and I learn just as much from you as you hopefully are learning from me. So once you determine your brand or your ideal brand, the second piece is who do you serve? That's most important. And I know I've repeated this from the very beginning of the Monetize Monday, but these are fundamentals that if you can't proceed without this, you can't skip this step. It's it's impossible to skip the step because if you do, you're going to end up wasting a lot of money, a lot of time, and it'll be wasted visibility, right? When you have these fundamental things that I'm talking about, it makes it so much easier to not only generate revenue, but generate revenue at your pace and even at your kind of command and demand. You could send out a newsletter and start generating $5,000 to $10,000 every time you send out a newsletter because of what you've been able to provide. Because if you have the right audience, they're going to invest in what you have to offer because that investment is the investment in themselves. And what are they investing in? They're investing in a shortcut. They're investing in a method to get what they want done faster, whether they work with you directly or by learning from what you're teaching them. That's the ultimate goal. So what we're doing now is I am taking what I've already know works and I'm conveying it in a manner that ideally helps resonate with you so that you could grow and then we grow together, right? That's fundamentally it. So you get your brand happening, you determine your avatar, right? Once you get that solidified, then you ask your avatar what they want and you give it to them. That's fundamentally it. Everything else is tactical in order for this to be fully realized, right? So I heard from one of the many speakers last week, and they started this thing called Lady Boss, and Lady Boss was um, a community that was built around women who wanted to lose weight. That was fundamentally it, and they didn't want to do anything else but give them some training on how to lose weight. So they did that. Okay. Then what ended up happening is that in the Facebook group and with communications with them, they said, the customers started asking, "Oh, why don't you have merch?" It's like, "Well, we don't want to do merch. We just want to do this." And then the customers kept asking for it. So I was like, "Okay, I might as well create it since you're asking for it." And they realized more revenue because of this. And they just delivered it. And now they did it in a very sleek way. So they just didn't come up and just start printing out t-shirts or anything else. What did they do? They asked them, "What color t-shirts do you want? What sizes should we have? What design do you want on them?" The customer talked them through every single element of the recommendations that they were asking for. They voted for this. Now, this concept isn't new. If you look at American Idol, the reason why these artists that win sell out is because they've been voted upon for weeks and months and hyped from the very beginning. So do the same type of thing. Get in the habit of asking, what does your avatar want? What does your ideal customer want? I think it's so vital to really get in tune with that. We don't have to invent any wheels. It's not that complicated. I think a lot of times people want to create stuff for themselves and think, "Oh, this is a great idea." And there's so many of these great ideas that don't sell because you might be solving a problem that doesn't exist. You think it's something great, but it's not. And it's no offense to you. It's probably a great idea, but it could be different timing. It could be the wrong audience. There could be a lot of variables. So in order to reduce that headache, ask the people that you are serving what they want. And how do you do that? You could easily do a tweet. You could do it in a newsletter. You could do it in a Twitter space like I am doing. There's a variety of different ways that you could do it. You could even do a simple poll on like Instagram stories, or whatever the platform is that you're on based off of your audience. Just ask them. You could even go to different groups on Facebook or different groups on LinkedIn and figure out, you know, what's going on. Be careful about the terms of that group that you're entering, because you have to position it in a way that is more informational based, versus you don't want to pitch or anything like that. But almost every single time I posted a question, even on my personal Facebook page, I got a lot of responses of people just talking about the various struggles, and it was great. I simply put, what's the biggest issue you have? The same question that I posted up the top. You know, I would always suggest using what's your biggest question or challenge in that format, versus list 5 things, list 3 things, because most people, it's too much. When you give people too many options, they choose nothing. So make it very easy for them to provide you feedback. Then, because they commented, you could go and private message them or comment on there publicly and ask for more information, which ironically enough increases your engagement of that particular piece of content. So by people responding and you responding back, you get put back into the algorithm, and it helps provide more visibility to other people. So one thing that you could potentially do, if you're lacking engagement, I swear that you don't need to do this next step, but if for whatever reason you're not getting the momentum, you're not getting the feedback that you want, contact me. I'll send me a DM, say, "Oh, something, could you comment on this?" And I'll bring my visibility. Contact some of your friends and say, "Hey, could you just respond to this just real quick? Let me know your thoughts," because you want to leverage that engagement. If your accounts have been dormant for whatever time, you probably get a quick boost of engagement, love, um, because of the algorithm. But every algorithm is different. Um, so leverage that tactic if at all possible. When you're trying to get feedback, if you're not getting it, then send it out to a couple of your selected friends so that they can just go in, comment, and give that post for you to get feedback, some engagement, love. I think that's critical. Okay. So once you start getting that feedback, take action and give the best that you can. There is this concept in um, in the group that I'm a part of, the Two Karma Club group that I mentioned that I went to the event, it's this concept about over delivering, right? as a consultant growing up, there was always this thing about when I was early in the business of like always being asked to do more and not getting paid for it. Now you're going to get paid and you're going to do more. You're going to get, in theory, not overpaid, but you're going to get paid more than you would expect to be paying, but you're going to be delivering more. And when you get to that level, things just become much easier. And it's an interesting thing about charging, right? When you charge very little, people don't really take it seriously. So this is something that you have to think about when it comes down to your offer and a price, right? There's a fundamental difference between those two things, right? The price. When you just go on price, then you're susceptible for competition because people just start comparing one price to another price. What would separate you is thinking about things as an offer, right? So before I mentioned the funnel for the book, we use Eileen as the example of she had one book and then she had the audio version of the book and then maybe some videos of the book and then you know a self-paced course and then all these things, right? So together all those things could be like a big offer. You get all these things for X amount, right? But if you're just offering one thing, that one book, and that's it, you're susceptible for that the competition is going to be there and just offer that lower version of that book. It's like, oh, I have that same book, it's just cheaper, right? The issue with things being cheaper is that people don't take that seriously. This is why when you go and look at, say, luxury cars, Mercedes costs what they cost, and you're going to expect a certain level of service. Then you go up to the higher levels of cars, and you look at a Bentley, right? You're going to see that it looks more solid. It doesn't look as styrofoamy. Not to say that it's not, but it just looks more solid if you look at the car, right? And the car fundamentally might not cost as much as they're charging it for because they created this level of prestige. So you have to look at yourself and your brand. What is the level of perceived value that you want to be associated with your personal brand? You have to look at that and say, okay, cool. If you're, say, writing a romance book, for example, and there's a lot of romance authors out there giving advice. If you could say, hey, look, um, my buy my romance guide 101 and learn how to write romance books. That's okay. But what if you say, look, I've been writing about romance novels for 10 years. Not only do I write about romance novels, but I have a doctorate in sexual health and wellness to add on that. I also have a podcast weekly on Twitter Spaces that talks about and interviews various authors. Okay. And I also have a direct connection with me that you could talk to me, on a weekly basis so that I could proofread what you've written and give you the top secret words that is going to substantially increase people buying your book, your romance book. That's a much more compelling offer, right? So you got to look at what other things can you provide that's not that much more extra work for you that's going to be valuable for your avatar. And this is where, again, that relationship that you have with the customer, the people that you're serving, becomes very vital. You're solving their problems, you're making it easier. And when you position all these things correctly, they are not going to be happy by themselves, but they're going to be your biggest promoters. And this is where the fandom comes in. This is where the community comes in because they're going to promote you. And once they start promoting you, it's a wrap because then you cut down on your advertising costs because who's advertising? Your ideal customer to other ideal customers. So it keeps perpetuating itself, right? But in order to get to this bundled perspective, you need to start off again with who you are, what you're all about, your personal brand, who your avatar is, what are their problems. Ask them, and they will tell you. Then you just build on it and keep getting some feedback from there. So then, three fundamental questions: who do you serve? What is the goal that they are trying to reach? That's the biggest thing that often is neglected. So before I was talking about entertainment being a factor, but let's talk more business oriented. As a creator, what is the goal that they're trying to accomplish? When someone goes to you and listens to your content and goes through all the stuff, what is What are they trying to accomplish? Why are you here in this space? The goal that I perceive that you're here for is what are the latest tips and tricks on how to monetize your brand? We've already talked about plenty of applications. We've talked to various hosts that are founders that we've given access to. We've given away, I say we, us together, I guess as a collective, it's just me, but I have given away over $1,000 worth of stuff in the last 4 weeks. And I wanted to do that specifically. And what did I do? I created some ticketed spaces just to prove it. $3.99. I wanted to give you that much more. That first day was 10 times the value because you invested $3.99 and you got $30 worth of services from that. Then the next, I did the same thing, and I actually provided I think it was like $50 worth for every person. Collectively, all of this stuff accumulated to over $1,000 worth of goods and services, to demonstrate how you could do it. And what you could do the same type of thing. Partner up with a business that is going to provide high level value to your consumer. For example, if you're a romance author, for example, and you're working on hosting your Twitter Spaces events and your podcast, what might you partner up with? Well, you might want to partner up with people that create notebooks, pens and paper. You might want to, partner up with maybe some publishers that you feed them, and maybe you get a finder's fee for bringing in some great authors into their ecosystem. You might want to partner up with people that make movies, people that, just look at what the issues are that those authors have. And there's plenty of companies that you could partner up with as an affiliate, or, a partner that you could interview or something like that, that adds more value to your brand, that makes it that much easier for you to have people buy a ticket to space or consume your membership site or anything else that you have to offer, right? So we're fundamentally solving problems. We're like the firefighters. I mean, I don't want to over like dramatize it, but that whole firefighters run into the fire to solve it and put it out. Police men and women do the same type of thing. They think of the opposite of what people will naturally do. We as creators, entrepreneurs, we're doing the same thing. We're fundamentally solving problems. We're looking for problems and we're solving them, which is contrary to what most people do, which is they're trying to avoid problems. So there's more people trying to avoid problems than they are going into solve problems. So that in and of itself puts you in a position of authority and puts you in a position of leadership if you're able to solve a problem to a group of people. Now you just have to decide, how small of a group, how niched out are you? Because that's another question that comes about, which is all about, who do you serve? You want to be, my recommendation, as succinct and as limiting as possible at the very, very beginning. And the reason why you want to do this is because you can't, the person that chases two rabbits catches none, right? When you're serving so many different audiences, it becomes very, very difficult to really go to market because you have so much competition. But if you go in and say, look, I am a romance coach, romance author coach, specifically working with authors that want to generate a following and a revenue stream on a monthly basis. If you're that specific, or I want to just deal with romance novelists in North America, I want to deal with romance novelists, women romance novelists in North America, right? So then you want to filter that as much as possible. And the thing is, you'll know if it's small enough or big enough. One of the things you could easily do is go to Facebook and go through the process of running the ad. You could probably do this on Twitter as well. And you could actually, when you set up the audience, it lets you know how big the audience is, right? The next step is to go and find books about what's being offered. You could go on YouTube, see what kind of YouTube videos are available, do some hashtag research on both Twitter and also Instagram to see how much content is being shared on it. I know that they use the Monetize Monday. If you click on that hashtag in the title, you're going to see a bunch of like random people discussing various things, whether it applies to Monetize Monday or not. It's just because it's a very, popular term, right? So this is your competitive advantage, being able to really be succinct as to how to offer some things. Like, for example, I know people that do daily meditation, for example, every day by the beach. Shout out to Donna for doing that. She does that on Haps. I'm going to leverage the people that I know in this room because I think it's very vital to have very exact examples. So she does this every day, right? She does the meditation. She does it greatly. She's dedicated to it with a lot of like deep knowledge of like what the value is, and she goes through the whole process. She's obviously it's recorded and things like that. But what could you do? Say, hey, if you're interested in a little bit more in depth meditation, I have a journal. Go to my website. I'll give you the journal for free. And when someone goes to buy the journal, she could have a one-time offer. Say, hey, look, not only can you get this journal, but I have an actual the top 5 mantras that you need to consider when you putting together this journal. It's an audio version, and it's an order bump. You don't say it's an order bump, but you say, hey, look, for like an additional, $5 or so, or $17 or whatever. Generally, it's like a 30% increase. It's generally under $20. Those are just the general statistics. But yeah, for like say $20, you get this audio, right? So then when they go to buy that, the next thing that could be offered is, hey, look, I know that you're interested in, you got the journal, you got the audio, right? I actually have a self-paced meditational course that goes through life transformation, and I put this together through all the years of me meditating and all by the ocean and things of that nature. And what it does is it talks through the 30 days. You go through this, and your life is going to be transformed because every day you have a different assignment to how to strengthen your meditation practices and things of that nature. Boom. And she could go $50 for that, right? And then the next thing is, hey, look, whether they buy it or not, the other upsell could be, hey, look, I have a community of people that meditate from all over the world, from different places, and they're always providing different techniques and styles. And some of them are actually teachers and practitioners using the same technique that I've developed. So that is for people that, are interested in this, say $75 a month, because every month we highlight different meditational techniques. We talk about various beaches to travel for meditation. I actually have negotiated, some, retreat locations. There's some here in Florida that you could come and check out. There's some all over the world. I put together the best beaches in the world to go meditate, and you could do a tour. And so the sky's the limit, right? So the purpose of that exercise was to show you how easy it is, not even knowing the avatar, but getting a good sense of who the avatar is, to create a whole product line all tied in together called an offering that increases the value, the perceived value, and the net revenue that you generate as a creator. So you don't have to go that much further than what you're doing. So I gave an Eileen example because she's always on Haps and other various streaming services talking about streaming and talking about the latest social media. Talked about Donna and her meditation, 7 o'clock every single day. I talked about Dr. J. I didn't allude to her. I didn't say her name before, but the romance novelist. If you want to know more about that, contact her. So there is all these potentials that everybody has, and it's mostly around creating a system that would help you convert in a way that doesn't feel like you're selling out your soul, that doesn't seem like it's like stressing you out. Because one of the biggest things that I hear from a lot of creators is like, look, I spent so much time creating these videos, and I have to edit it, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And it is frustrating because it's taking the love that you have for your craft out of it. Because of the revenue, you don't feel like you're being compensated. So now I'm just highlighting, here's how you can get compensated. You could give a lot of these things out for free, which is fine, which is the entryway, but have the back end covered. Have some sort of have a methodology or system put into place that allows you to just generate some revenue, right? A path, an offering, right? Once you have a basic um, offering established, here's the beautiful part. And some people might like this, some people might not like it. It becomes a math game because I talked about one of the critical components, which is, the average cart value. But there's another one, which is, the cost per click, right? So one of the things I'm going to go through some basic math, which what you do is you determine, what is the cost per acquisition, right? You look at that number, and then you look at the average cart value, right? And you should have a bigger, obviously, average cart value than it's going to cost to acquire the customer, right? Then you look at every step, all those things that I mentioned, the landing page for the initial offer, the order bump. You have the one-time offer, one-time offer two, and then you have some maybe bonus prize there. Then you can look at what the conversion rate is for each one of those steps, and then you just fix one every week, right? You just pick one. What's the one that's causing the most problems? Then you fix that one. What's the second one that's causing the most problems or not generating that return? You fix that one, and that it becomes a game at that point in time. You do some split tests, and this is getting very tactical, but there's split tests you could run. So you could test out two different order bumps. Maybe they don't want audio, maybe they want the video for Donna, right? For her meditation. Maybe that's what they like. Or maybe they do want an audio because they could put that in their ear and they'll be working out just listening to her. Maybe Donna could create, hey, here's the best meditational songs that I put together. I put together a whole mixtape of music. I partnered up with this app that generates music for your meditations, right? Um, so start thinking again, what problem are you solving? What is it that's critical that or the most important thing that they want solved immediately? And this is why that question that I asked at the top is so important. What's the biggest question, right? What's the biggest challenge? Because you want to start off there, because when you start off there, um, then it's going to be more visceral, it's going to be more emotional, and people buy based off emotion. That's that, right? Now let's talk about big picture, right? So most people, and I talked about the funnel in kind of like uh in escalating fashion, right? But there's another way that I learned, or got relearned, or got an update version from, which is the concept of starting off with your flagship product, the most expensive product, and then work your way down. Because we just talked about scaling up from zero to a very low cost to your membership site or whatever it is, the big picture, big ticket item. But the second way to do it is start off with your biggest product. And who has done this? Let's take Elon Musk. The first product was over $100,000, right? But what happened there? He used that money to underwrite the ability to sell a car that's $30,000. It took him several years, right? But that's something that you could take a look at. So going back to Eileen could run a professional live streaming service for professionals that need to get their word out. Who would she deal with? Let's partner up with my friend Dr. Johnson. Sorry, Dr. J, right? And say, hey, look, I'm putting together a streaming package for highly successful authors to sell, to become bestsellers. So they partner up together and they figure out a way to come up with a package and offering that they can work together on. And instead of selling it for $7, it could be a couple $1,000s, right? But what they get in return, the customer that's investing, is they're getting a complete customized blueprint for a romance novelist to use streaming to sell more books. See how very specific that is? When you get that specific, you could the offering value is much higher, because who else is going to be doing that, right? The perceived value that Eileen and Dr. J, that collaboration brings to the table, is unique. They have no competition, because who else is doing a course that specific, right? So when you're that specific, you have no competition. You get to set the rate, coming from the streamer Eileen, who's been doing this for over 5 years, has a relationship with Haps, is one of the top performers there, is a YouTube, sensation, and Dr. J, who has many years of experience, has all these credentials. This collaboration is worth so much more because of the very specific skill sets that each one of them has individually, and how combined it's worth thousands of dollars as a package. Now, if that package does occur, I've said this already. This is a lot. This is recorded, so I get a percentage of whatever. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I just wanted to highlight how very easy it becomes if you really have your right, mindset, how you could put it all together. So I'm going to do a quick reset because I tend to do that like every hour. Just want to give a shout out to my peoples from Habs. Pablo, sorry, what did I say? Pedro, I don't know. And he's on Haps. Let's give him a shout out. And while I'm doing that, send me DMs, send out some tweets. If you think that this is valuable, share it. There's the first tweet at the top. You could share that if you want. If you want to answer the question that I posted there, please answer the question. I'll be addressing that. Just giving him a quick shout out. Kind of resetting the space. This is being recorded. It's going to be on Habs as soon as this is done. So if I spoke too quickly, I didn't speak too quickly, you were listening too slowly. That's a bad joke. But in any case, I got two speeds, fast and Dominican. And sometimes when I am passionate about something, I go into my Dominican mode. So after this whole Twitter Spaces is done, it's going to be immediately available. You can listen to it. Go, see if you could extract something that I've said, or if you come in late, you could listen to the beginning. So it's all there. There's recorded spaces coming. Can't really talk about that because this is not the space for it, but I just wanted to let you know that that's available. And that, I just want to say that. So let me quickly just check if people have tweeted this out. Let me go here to this thing. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so nothing there. Okay, great. And let me go into, okay, great. Okay, question. I've a question around convincing a corporate that you can offer brand visibility based on a post reach, not reactions, because they work with followership and nothing else here in Africa. And how do you build quality followership that attracts brand endorsement? Fantastic question. Let's go through that. It's pretty straightforward. So first things first, you need to provide some metrics, right? You need to sometimes do things for free to earn the credibility. And for free, it's not. There's two ways to do it. You could have them hire you and say, "Hey, look, I'm just getting started, so I'm going to do this at a certain rate. And what we're going to do is we're going to work at creating a case study. I care more about the case study than the revenue. You could position it any way you want, but this is one way. You could phrase it, you could pay for it, you could do whatever. I'm just giving you one example. There's plenty of ways to do this. But in any case, low hanging fruit, say, hey, look, I'm creating case studies, so pay for the cost of advertising or whatever it is, and I'm going to waive my fee for the first 30 days. The goal is to get you to a certain level because people buy results. People are investing in to Eileen, to Tanya, to Emil, to Bunton and Beaker. I'm always going to call him Bunton and Beaker. Sorry. So Amy, they're investing into like Dr. J. They're investing this because they have all proven success. So you have to demonstrate your success. You have to document your success. You have to document it. Then you have to iterate on that. You have to go and say, I have done this more than 3 times. 3 is the magic number. Why? Because once, that could have been very lucky. 2, that could have been a fluke. 3 or more times, you're starting to create a pattern. And when you have a pattern, then that's what people are buying into. This is why those people that have this set pattern and have a history of performing very well could charge a higher amount than those people that are getting started. It's almost like getting a job, right? Entry level jobs are not going to be as high income wise as people that have experience. Now, just because you have experience in a corporation doesn't necessarily translate immediately into revenue. But as a creator, as an entrepreneur, what does your stats look like? How much revenue that your company generate is one thing. But what's more important, how much revenue did your customers generate? That should be the metric that you should be looking at. And what kind of transformation did you provide? What kind of techniques did you provide? So one of the things that needs to be done when you're looking at this is, first, you need to determine who you are as a leader. There are various types of leaders out there. There is the kind of like the journeyman, which is kind of like me, where I kind of do the research and I'm showing and explaining my research as I'm getting it. There's actually a phenomenal speaker. I'm going to try to get some of the speakers from the conference to do a Twitter space. I would have had them, but again, I didn't. I just found out that my current speaker wasn't able to attend. So I'm going to see if I could get them, because they really went through. There was a phenomenal one that I really enjoyed. It actually measured charisma, which is great. Which is, and I'm going to highlight which those are. And if people are interested, I'm going to, I'll talk about it further. So basically, it's looking at three different levels: entertainment, compassion, and authority, right? Then within authority, there is light, lift, and lead, right? And again, I want to not do it justice. I want to give it some time to marinate. I want to get that solidified. And I want to teach that. And ideally, I want to interview the author of these concepts, because these things, once you fine tune what your leadership style is, what your level of um, you know charisma is in this particular case, it gives you an unfair advantage, because you go into situations knowing that you're comfortable and you don't have to be a Gary Vaynerchuk, hustle, 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 or a Tony Robbins, like, oh, clap, 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 all that stuff. You could be comfortable in who you are, and that becomes your branding, and then that's it, right? So that's that. So um I sort of lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was talking about. So all right, going back to the stats. So for the stats thing, is one of the things that I learned early on is I created stuff for myself. So when I first got started with social media, um, it was one of those things where I was an SEO. I did that for a bit for customers because it was fun. It was easy, kind of tedious. Um, and a company was using my name incorrectly. There was an MLM company, and what they used to do is they just put a bunch of people's names, and they used that person's name for social proof to advertise whatever that they were selling, right? Because they figured, oh, people know Joseline, they're gonna buy into this business because they know Joseline. That's the whole thing, and they did that with a bunch of people, and they realized that I did SEO, so they're like, oh yeah, Joseline, you're SEO, you can figure this out, because I went to them and they tried to run some shenanigans. So what I ended up doing is the fact that I went to Google, established myself on a variety of different networks, social networks, and I control now the first 300 references of my name. So how do I know it was 300? Joseline. Well, good question. Joseline talking to himself. Um, it is because when you look at Google search results, they generally show you 10 by default. There is a setting that you need to go to, and it shows you 100. So you change that setting to 100. And what I did is I Googled my name, and the first three pages at 100, 300 are all pages that I controlled, or all pages that have interviews of me, or pictures of me, or videos of me. It's not that very difficult to do. It's not that difficult to do, right? This is why I highly recommend that your name that you want to be known for is the same across every social channel possible. Even if you're just registering the name on a platform that you're not going to use, squat on your own name. Just do that immediately. Um, that becomes so vital, right? I generally associate one Gmail for social name, for everything. Now, here's the beautiful thing about Gmail is there's something called an alias, and I think I talked about this before. So let's just say it's my name is JM. My email address at Gmail is, say, jm@gmail.com, right? Let's just say it's that. And and you create a Twitter account with that. So your first Twitter account is jm@gmail.com. So if you start another Twitter account, they're not going to allow, or some companies don't allow, using the same email address. So what you could do is on the fly, meaning that you could create it as your
You don't have to create this actual email address. You could just type it in and it works the same. You could simply add a plus and whatever it is that you want to say at gmail.com. And that creates an alias within Gmail. So it's a unique address to the social platform, but it's actually the same address in Gmail. Let me give you an example more specifically. So I created that first account using jm@gmail.com, and that's Twitter handle one. Twitter handle two, I put JM plus, and that's the plus above the equal sign, the plus sign, plus, and I'll say put Twitter handle or T2 for the second Twitter account at gmail.com. So it's still going to go to that main email address, but it's a different one with these systems. So that's a hack for you to have one account that you use from multiple platforms. So that's just like an FYI. Highly recommend it. It's beautiful. So going back to my story, I just was able to create all these social profiles, same name, same avatar. By the way, this is the first time I've ever really changed my avatar from my face to this llama. The reason why it's a llama is because I am part of an NFT launch. Again, as a creator, I need to experiment with everything. To give you an example of how to leverage that, I did have a conversation the last Monetized Monday on how to leverage NFTs as a creator. I had various NFT creators. I would highly recommend, if you're interested in that, to listen to that because we really went in depth on how to best leverage NFTs. NFTs is non fungible tokens. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Non fungible token. Anyway, so it's the future of a lot of different things. I don't want to get into an NFT discussion because that's also very visceral to some people because it's kind of very confusing. So anyway, the point is that I have my same avatar image across everything. The only other place that I do not have the same avatar image is LinkedIn because I wanted to have a more professional version there, a suit. And then I tended to switch up the one on Facebook, right? But everything else is pretty much the same face. And the good thing is I pretty much look the same, so it's a beautiful thing. So technique number one, with your brand, first find out who you want to be, and you who it's critical to. Those words are very critical. Who you want to be. You don't have to be that person now. You're creating the person. And it's not like it's out of fictition. This is what you're building towards. Because when you go from uh, a six figure, say a $900,000 business to $1 million business, fundamentally, you are the same physical person. That mental person, though, that your mind needs to be fundamentally different because what got you started is not the same way that is necessary to get to the next level. You need to be fundamentally thinking differently. And that is something that's not discussed enough. When you get to that high level, and again, this is not to say that that is the ultimate goal, right? Because you might not want that. You figure out what kind of life you want to lead and you live that. But if you want to get to those higher levels, when all the research came back, you have to fundamentally change the way you're looking at things because at first you might do everything as a creator. You might be the writer, the deliverer. You might edit the things, all that stuff, right? But as you grow, your time becomes more valuable. You find out what your natural gifts are, so you could focus on that, and then you hand off the video editing to someone else. You hand out, say, the marketing to someone else or at least the branding part so that they create all the branded content for you and you deliver it at your own pace. You figure out how you want to navigate your world. There's plenty of resources that you could use to scale, to almost create repurposable content. There's actually a site called repurpose.io. I think that's what it's called. It might be part of the vault, the Monetized Monday vault. Where you create one piece of content and they optimize it for all the social networks. It's done for you. And then you just schedule it and distribute it. Now, it's not about that social content. It goes back to what I was saying before. You could do that, but that's just the beginning. The next piece is having a way to convert those people that are engaged with you to connect with you. Like, for example, Donna, going back to Donna, because I love Donna, is she has daily meditations, as I talked about, and people can subscribe to her on these networks. But it would be great, and I'm going to go to her profile now, is I would highly recommend that Donna establish a review newsletter, right? The reason why I say review, because on Twitter, it connects right to your profile. If you want to see what that looks like, you go to my profile. If you go to my profile, you're going to notice that there's a newsletter sign up, a subscription. It's right on my profile. So as I'm speaking, people could be subscribing. When people subscribe to that newsletter, then you could offer them the number one thing is ask them what they want. That's your offer. Not really an offer, but that's going to convert into an offer because you're going to say, okay, what is it that you want? What's your number one question that you have about meditation? So you could just have that be her first intro newsletter and she could collect all this data. Say, okay, great. Given that I've reached, here's the top three, and then she could put another newsletter. It's like, hey, here's the top three most requested meditation guides. Which one do you prefer I release first? She gets them involved. And when she has them people involved, they're more likely to invest because they're already invested their time. So that conversion into money is smaller because they've already been investing along the way. One trick that I learned in the sales process is you're not waiting for the last yes. Because by the time you make the offer, they've already said so many yeses that they're comfortable saying yeses. This is why when you hear speakers say or speak, good speakers that are selling, they'll often say, oh, do you agree with that? Say yes. Raise your hand. Do this. Why do you think I said, pull up the 100, put up the fist? You want them engaged. You want them comfortable engaging. So use these techniques for yourself. So Eileen, same type of thing. Are you joining live or are you watching the replay? Use that hashtag. Let me know where you're coming in from. That's a streaming live technique. For Dr. J, she could say, hey, look, what is the most central word that doesn't go over the line? List them, right? And she could have a bunch of people respond with all these words. And then she's collecting those words. And she probably knows some of them and she probably doesn't. And then she puts out a post, say, hey, this is the most popular central word that isn't perverted or isn't, too out there, outlandish, So, I referred to my homie Tanya. What's your favorite place in South Florida to go learn about marketing? What's the favorite cafe? What's the favorite restaurant? She could leverage that. And then, hey, she could go to that restaurant, go to that place that people mentioned, say, hey, look, I have about, 500 to 1,000 people or whatever it is that all said that this is a great place to have an event. I want to have an event here for these marketers. What could we work out? Right? They told you what they wanted and you just give it to them, deliver it. Right? Pretty straightforward. And I got my two Latino buddies. We got Chris and Nestor, and they're all about making sure that the Latino community is up to par with all this information that we're getting in the English community, in the American community, right? By the way, this is Hispanic Heritage Month. It's September 15th to October 15th. So look out for some content around that. Just a quick plug. And I don't know where to follow me, I guess, or whatever. I'll send out some tweets. I haven't seen so much stuff, but maybe we could work something out with Nestor and Chris. Anyway, so let's go back to the point. So the point is this. It's understanding your brand. You establish what that brand is, your personal brand. Then finding out who you want to serve, your avatar, and being succinct at what they want. You're solving their problems. The more problems that you solve, the better it is, right? Find the problem that they want to have solved the most challenging one first, right? Figure that out. Now, you might not need to solve that problem on your own. We gave the example of Eileen and Dr. J collaborating and doing some venture that suits both of their audiences, which I think is very critical, right? So think about that. I'm going to do a quick reset. My name is Jose Limane. I'm running Monetize Monday, 3 to 5 Eastern time every Monday. If you have any questions or comments, please go to my DMs, ask them, send out a tweet. If you go to the last tweet that I posted, that's on the top of the nest here. What is your biggest question that you have or biggest challenge you have with monetizing your brand? Answer it in the comments. I'll address it. Or if you want to send it privately in the DM, I'll address it. This is all being recorded and will be readily available. After this is over, you get to hear the entire replay from beginning to end. No cuts, no commercials, because that's the way we do things here. All right. So
that was a quick reset. And then as I do that, I'm going to quickly go in to see if anybody made some additional comments in here. Boom, boom, boom. Just to make sure. Okay. And that's it. Let me go in. Okay, great. All right. Um, so number one, your brand. Number two, your avatar. Find out what the avatar wants. Give it to them. Then you establish what's considered a an offer. They call it the value ladder in the ClickFunnels world. ClickFunnels is the software that I use. Funnel Hacking Live was put together by the team that put together ClickFunnels, and they're doing some great work in the next year to help entrepreneurs like myself and creators like myself to really monetize our brand, take it to the next level. My brand is you guys. I'm helping the creators, the people that are want to take their business from 6 figures above, right, and to the 7 figure, 8 figure, 9 figure area. How to go from 4 figures a month to 5 figures a month. How to go from 1,000 a month to say 10,000 or more a month, and then how do you go from 10,000 to 50, 50 to 100, so on and so forth. How do you do it in a systematic way? One of the critical things that people often get confused on is really, let's talk about e-commerce for a second. It's great to have a store that is packed with a bunch of stuff. However, it goes against the logic of sales. When you give people too many options, they choose none. Let's take a quick analysis of Amazon. As many different products that are on Amazon, you generally just see the main product at the top and then associated related products at the bottom. Amazon bundles. If you notice, when you buy a book, it says, oh, people that bought this book bought these other books. Or if you buy a spatula, hey, the people that bought this spatula also bought this pan and this lid and this other thing. So you could get this all together. That's a bundle. That's an offer, right? So they've systematically grown to a place where they could service a bunch of different products, whether it's their own or other people's, right? But they started off with books. That's it. They created the infrastructure first. They didn't start off selling everything to everybody because they wouldn't have made it, right? So this is why it's important to think both effectively and efficiently. But your first goal as a creator is to be effective. What does that mean? That means that you are getting your goal accomplished. And what's your goal, Joseline? Okay, Joseline. Speaking to myself again. The goal is to figure out what the problem is that you're trying to solve and solving it, right? And all the things that you do are going to be based off of that. It's very important to know. And your customer, your avatar, they're going to tell you what it is directly via DMs, via tweets, or indirectly by their action, right? One thing to note as well is when they were talking about the funnel, the reason why it makes sense to have a funnel of like, hey, kind of just add this to cart and have this as a one-time offer and things like that. The reason why that's effective and it works is because the best time to sell something to someone is when they just bought. They've already bought into your first product, and they could leave with just that first product or leave, not buying anything. But what you do is you collect their email at first, and the second phase is them buying, and then you just create the offers. This is the same reason, the same logic that when you go to a fast food place, McDonald's or whatever, hey, do you want to supersize that? Do you want fries and Coke? They do that purposely because they're not making money off of the first sale. They're making money off of the bundle. That's the fundamental thing. So what is your bundle? What is the Donna meditation bundle? And I'm saying meditation, because she does yoga, author podcast. She does a bunch of different things. But I'm going to say meditation because that's what she does. But it could be a yoga practice. It's like, okay, so how do I take this yoga to the next level? Here are my exclusive yoga poses. Here are the music and here's some clothes. So all these things go together, and you could get the Donna, the don't be a dummy with Donna thing, because she's going to make you smart. She's going to make you more relaxed, make you more healthy, make you more, stretched out, things like that, more limber, Let's talk about Eileen. Eileen can look at all this stuff and say, hey, look, this is the whole package. This is the whole thing. From soup to nuts. Not only are you going to get these techniques, you're going to get discounts on the software. You're going to get here are the tools that I'm using. Here's the apps that I'm using. Here's live streaming from home. Here's live streaming on the go. Here are these packages, and she could actually put together these bundles on Amazon and say, "Hey, look, go here. It's all broken down," and she could get some cut from that, an affiliate cut. It's very small, but it's a cut, right? So she could have that on our website, all these products and services. Then she could provide consulting. Hey, look, what is it that you're looking to accomplish? Are you looking to enhance your brand? Are you an author and you want to sell, be a bestseller? Here's how you use live streaming to accomplish that, or whatever audience that you want to work with. Dr. J, same type of thing. Hey, look, you want your romance novel to become a series on Netflix like Outlander, which I started to watch because of her, which is a great show. And here's how you do it. Here's how you write in order to get to that point where you're displaying something that hasn't been displayed before, like the marriage scene, like we talked about, and she introduced me to. There's ways to do this correctly, and she has that skill set. You know, so there are things that are vital, that every single one of you possess, that's a unique skill set. Every single one of us has something that's unique, and we need to capitalize on that uniqueness to live the life that we want to live. The name of my company is called Lit Bell. Life is to be lived, right? Do what you do best and outsource the rest. That's fundamentally what I believe, right? Everybody here is a genius. It's something. So figure out what that genius is. Make that part of your brand. If you're young, the perception is that you have youth and energy on your side. So leverage that. If you are older, then you could say wisdom is on your side, experience is on your side. So leverage whatever it is that you want to be identified with and use that as your unique selling proposition, USP, right? And those things become vital because when you really embrace it, when you really like double down on that, you have no competition. I have no competition, right? Because in order to be a competitor of mine, you and me to be a first generation Dominican man that grew up with all women, that went to private school, that ended up going to engineering school, that worked at companies like Gillette, that spent, many years traveling all over the world. How It's your story. The story is what sells, right? That's what they're buying into. This is why people are so caught up on these like reality shows, because is the story, right? That back end story is so essential. So it's very critical that you really embrace who you are and embrace your story and leverage your story, uh, and use that story to pull in your ideal avatar. So again, we're rounding up the last half hour of this discussion. It's not really a discussion, it's really a monologue. I feel like Bill Burr in his podcast. Anyway, if anyone wants to speak, join in the conversation, request the mic. We'll have this open dialogue. Again, this is a recorded podcast, so feel free to do so. Just want to make you aware of that. If you do not feel comfortable grabbing the mic, there's plenty of people that are hitting me up in the DM. So send me a DM and we could address it there. Also, if you want to address this last question that I post there, what's the biggest question or challenge you have about monetizing your brand? Please do so, because it's going to be vital for others to kind of know what's happening. So, what do we have going on here? I'm just going through some tweets. I'm doing this live so that you know what it's all about. Great, great, great. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Twitter's releasing back in May. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. Okay, beautiful. Thanks. All right. So, when you charge very little, people don't take it seriously. Consider the price. Thank you, Sahad, for tweeting that out. Really appreciate that. Very, very good. Okay. Thank you for. Okay, great. So I'm just going through that. I want to do it in real time so you guys see what that's all about. All right. Or here, at least what that's all about. So I want to kind of spend this next half hour, kind of hopefully like wrapping everything up, have you thinking of an assignment to do, not an assignment like school or whatever, but something to think about for the week potentially as we prep for these next speakers. Number one, I would ask, what would you want to know? Like it fundamentally goes back to that tweet. What is the biggest issue with monetizing that you have? Like what's really holding back you wanting to get to that next level? You want to get to a next level. How do you get there?
what is the most critical thing that you need to do? This is where do you need the most help, right? Because I could get almost any speaker here. Um, literally, you know, I could see if I can make it happen. um, I could get almost any software company, but what is it that you feel that you need to get to the next level? What is the biggest obstacle that you might have? And um, I'll be curious to know. So I'm gonna let my invite my friend Bunton and Baker, even though again it's not his name is Jason, but uh, what is going on? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm pretty lucky to have this time to listen. Normally, I'm not able to listen during this time.
I know. I'm super excited about that. It's always great to see you here.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sure.
And I don't know if I can make it super succinct, so I'll try. Because time is valuable. But one problem that we have, like I have, is picking the right thing to monetize. That's a financial risk, and I don't have any training in marketing or market research, so I don't know if you have any advice there. Like, for example, like picking something of the dogs that people might like to buy that we would have to put up our own capital for, right? Like if you zig when you should have zagged, you can lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's my question. Like, is there what is there? Are there tools? Is there somebody you could maybe hire to help with that? I don't know.
You can, but I think it wouldn't. I mean, you can, but I think it's a waste of money because you could just simply ask them, "Hey, look, we're looking at these two things. Which one do you want more of?" You figure out you're on Patreon, and you could just ask them, "Hey, look, we're looking at these two things. What would you want?" Just ask them, right? And you could do the same thing on Twitter. You could do like a picture of these two items. Hey, which one would you want more of? Or we're looking at expanding. You know, I don't know. You have like the rooster thing. Maybe there's another animal or character that you could bring into the whole situation, right? You could the sky's the limit. But the great thing is that you have such an engaged audience that just simply asking them, they'll be more than happy because you've been providing them with such great material from like the very beginning. Um, so I would just even test it out today. Do you have a couple things that you have in mind right now?
Oh yeah. Like I'm always coming up with things, and yeah, our Patreon group, we've got about 100, 110, 120 patrons, but we're almost at 100,000 on Twitter, and our patrons will always support us. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, that's a great idea to ask our Twitter followers more. I just don't want to alienate them with like, I guess if it's a couple once in a while, it's not that big a deal, but I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but here's the thing, when a golfer buys a club, right? Do they get upset when someone promotes another club to a golfer? They don't, because they're into golf and they want the best material. So the point of the story is that if they like the brand, which they do, otherwise they wouldn't be 100,000 followers, right? So you make it into a story. We're looking at this A and B, decide. Oh, great, thank you. So it looks like you selected this one. Is this right? Great. So we're putting this out. It's going to come out in. So it looks like it's going to take about a month to create. Who wants to be put on the waiting list? Who wants to be put on? You know how you do the pre-order? Oh, we're taking pre-orders now. So you use that pre-order money to make whatever it is that they ask for. Then you give it to them. Oh, we're only going to do a limited run just to see how this goes. Then it sells out. Then that becomes part of the story. It's like, oh, wow, we sold out of our first thing. I'm excited to announce the second thing, right? Should we do another run? Yes or no? Oh, yes, you want it? Okay, we're going to do another run and we'll take pre-orders again. We're going to extend it further. So the whole process of almost this level of nervousness, and you could play with the dogs and say, hey, Bunton thinks it's great, but Beaker, he's a little nervous about this. How could we convert Beaker? Beaker's not going to be happy if he doesn't sell out because he needs another bowl to get more food or something like that. Like that's fun. You're already accustomed to doing that. And I think having that level of that relationship you have with your audience, you leverage that because you're in a very unique position because you have such, you started this from the ground, like everybody starts from the ground out, but this whole story of like how this whole thing came about, and it just use that, and you're not doing salaciously, because it could be something where you're doing a fundraiser for to help more science, bring more science things, which is essentially what you're doing to get better equipment or whatever it is. So you can wrap it into why you're doing this, why are you promoting this. Well, it's time for a refresh. Every month there's a holiday, right? The next holiday is Halloween, right? So you already are a costume maker. So that could be, hey, we're looking at the best costume this year. What do you think? Boom, boom, boom. You know, um, then you have Thanksgiving, then you have Christmas, then you have New Year's. These, and this is critical because the e-commerce sales during the pandemic has substantially increased because most of the people are at home. So you should really be planning for this year's e-commerce business. Start testing out the market now. Start promoting stuff for the new year. Hey, look, what would you want to give your gift for the family this year, right? Thanksgiving. Well, you're in Canada. I don't know how the hell Thanksgiving thing works, but New Year's, the new year, start off the new year right. You got the calendar stuff. Start planning for the calendar for a gift, So there's a lot of things like that that I think work to your example. But you're so creative that just simply asking, you're gonna yield a lot, and you just create like a Google form or whatever, and put out and just be transparent in the process. Like, oh, this is great. This is our first one. I'm so excited to do this. We really want to focus the next year on just you and serving you, and you're great. Blah blah blah. And then even bringing some like people that are like super. They comment all the time. It's like, oh, we're gonna name this after our biggest fan. I don't know if your fans. Do your fans have? Do you give your fans like a name? There's like the Beliebers, right? Then you have like the Barbies and the monsters. Do you have?
No, but that would be. I'd have to kind of think of something to smush together, right?
Yeah.
We have different levels on Patreon, so they have names.
What are their names? Are they like doggy?
The top tier are the battle burners because of the armor I built for Bunsen. So that's the top tier, and then there's the Bunsen burners, like the chemical.
Yeah.
There's the flasks, and then the lowest level is the beakers.
Nice.
But that was I made that up before we got beaker, so I'm slighting beaker. But anyways.
But what you can do is leverage that as a cross promotion to your Patreon, right? Say our Patreon beakers are blah blah blah. Then it becomes something that you soft promote something. You soft promote the Patreon, and you get everybody involved so that people don't kind of feel isolated and it doesn't seem like it's overly promotional. So I think that's something that you might want to consider, just to bring it part of the family. So, and what we're going to do exclusively for our Patreon is they're going to get the first dibs, right? And then you start adding value to the Patreon. Say, hey, look, we're doing this, but the people that are going to get the, early access is Patreon. Our Patreon will always get early access, right? So, and then you bring your Twitter followers in there slowly but surely without like overly promoting. And then if there's people that have the gear on, and I think you do a good job of like showcasing the people that buy your merch and stuff, say, oh, the Beaker Patreon member of the month or the week is this, and you put a picture out, if you want to join Patreon, here it is, boom. And you just sprinkle that in 1 in 10 posts, do that, and then we're going to do a countdown exclusively to our, Patreon followers or Patreon family. Don't call them, I really like followers, but you call them whatever you want. But like your Patreon family, boom, they get early access, and whatever's left goes to the general public, that type of stuff. So you could play around with it in a nice, like elegant manner without being too pitchy, with being, Canadian. You know how you Canadians are, very friendly.
Yeah, we'll make sure we apologize if it's too much.
Exactly. So, I'm sorry. Do you have an I'm sorry shirt? I don't think I saw that. And that could be a great merch item. I'm sorry. I'm from Canada.
I'm sorry, eh?
Yeah. So I think and we could talk more offline. I'm more than willing to like partner up and do something. We could do something together. It'll be great for like the community to see. And everybody here, if you're not following Bunsen and Beaker, just give it a follow. when's your, because you're still doing your thing tonight, right? You have a Twitter space tonight?
No, Tuesday.
Oh, right.
Sunday,
I had
yeah.
mentally I thought today was Tuesday. Like, but it's monetized Monday, so I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, I had Tuesday in mind, but I was saying today. But yeah, so every Tuesday, is do you have a pinned tweet with that? Let me see.
I don't.
Okay.
But we have it scheduled. Yeah.
Okay.
I can share it to the nest with your permission.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, if for those people that don't know, this is his current pin tweet, which is, "My name is Bunsen. I'm a Bernese Mountain Dog." Oh, so it's a great picture. Great pictures. And then there's a Beaker, and it's funny because Beaker's always yelling because he's a very hyperactive dog. So that's why it's in all caps. So for those people that don't know, there it is. So yeah. So, and then they got masks and everything else. So yeah, so whenever you post that would be great. See, this is one of the advantages of coming to speak on Monetize Monday. I promote you. This is what it's all about. Because I want everybody to get wealthy, everybody to do well financially. Your success is my success. I revel in your success. I promote your success. So if you want to come up, even talk about your business, let's make it happen. So let's read what's happening tomorrow. This Tuesday, come listen to Dr. Jessica. How do you say her last name? Kanya. I get like Kanya. An amazing and empathetic vet chat about animal health and mental health. Look at that. We would love for you to join us to hear her story, but also chime in with questions about animal health too. So there you go. So it's a nice video. Everything is nice, and you've implemented the animated GIF. So it's a good example of what you could do, how to promote your space for those people that don't know. So give that a listen, even if it's just, you might not be interested in the subject matter, but just understand a different way to run your space, a different way to promote your space, a different way to promote yourself. It's great that we all learn from each other, because this is a Twitter Spaces family. So phenomenal. I thank you. So hopefully that answered the question. Like I said, DM me. Let's talk about this. I'm willing to help. Let's get it rolling. This is what I do. So your family. So, and you were a previous speaker, so you get that insider.
Yeah, thank you so
network.
much. I'll definitely send you a message, Jose. Thank you.
Oh
again.
yes, absolutely, indeed. So we have another 20 minutes or so. I want to open this up. Anybody with questions, comments, concerns, all about monetizing their brand. If they're having a hurdle, if they're going through, if you're going through one particular challenge that you just want to get over, let me know. I might not have the answer, but I'll definitely find out for the next episode, or DM, or send it out on Twitter when I find out. That's one of the critical pieces that I always want to say is, hey, I don't have the answers, but I'll find it because I'm always fascinated by it. So yes. So next speaker we have Devi. I think that's how you pronounce it. Again, you're being recorded because it's the podcast, and you're going live, and you're going to be on the replay that happens right after the show, which is about 20 minutes. So Devi, is that how you say it? Is that how you best pronounce your name?
Hey, hi, it's Devi. Thank you.
Devi, what's happening?
I'm doing good. I'm from India. It's around 2 a.m. right now.
Oh my goodness, and you stayed up. Oh my goodness.
But that's okay with me. I'm so glad that this room is there, and I was really enjoying the space, the way you guys were discussing, and I was thinking if you can help me as well.
Sure.
If there's anything you can do. See, I'm the kind of person who is into mindfulness and meditation again. And I was wondering how to monetize too, because I've been doing some free sessions on Clubhouse. I've been doing free sessions on Twitter. I have my YouTube. I have my book, which I published this year. But I'm still a little stuck with the monetization. If you can help me and tell me what, give me any good ideas that I can implement, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you already have a monetizational component that I already see. You're the author of a wellness book, Mindfulness, A Journey, right? Rebel for Justice, a mother, mindfulness yoga coach, motivational speaker, dubbing artist, and virtual eye pro. I don't know what that is. But here's the thing. So there's a lot of things in the bio. I'll probably tighten it up, get it more focused on the mindfulness just for the branding purposes. You could do the other things, which is fine. But sometimes when you give people too many options, they choose none. So that's something to consider when you're branding yourself. So let's talk about the book. So the book is already out. So if I go to the mindful, what is it? The mindful.co.in, the book will be there. Yes. So
it should be, it's mindfulp.co.in. That's my website. And my book is available on Amazon.
Okay, cool. So the book, so Team Mindfulness So give us a summary of what someone should expect from the book, like a quick synopsis. And who is it for?
All right, yeah. This book is basically for everyone. See, mindfulness is something, or meditation is something that we all should, at least 10 minutes a day, we should go ahead and focus on ourselves, our inner world, our mind, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your age is, no matter who you are. So that's very, very important so that we can focus on the rest of the part of our life. So there, in this particular book, I have actually tried and explained that how mindfulness can be a part of everybody's life, and just maybe 10 minutes, and then we can go up to 30 minutes a day can be perfect to let you be focused and be more organized and be happy. That's the most important thing that I was trying to focus on.
Okay.
So that's all about it.
All right. One challenge, one thing that I would consider is looking and being more specific with your audience. As much as we want to have our product be useful for everyone, there is generally, unless it's air, there's nothing that's generally suitable for everybody. I would narrow it down. I would look at, now you could offer the same fundamental thing and give it to different audiences at different price points. And it could be fundamentally the same thing, but because it's catered to a particular audience, then the perceived value increases substantially. It's like going to the doctor. I use this one often. So if you're having problems with your ear or toe, let's say toe or feet, and yes, the generalist, they could give you some general advice. But if you're having feet problems, you most likely want to go to someone that focuses on the feet almost exclusively, the higher perceived value, right? They could fundamentally tell you the same thing that the generalist would say, but because they focus on feet exclusively, they've seen more cases about it. So for your book, I would say, hey, mindfulness for busy professionals to get your life back on track and be more successful. That has a higher perceived value than mindfulness for everybody. And then that way you could charge a premium product on it. You could offer the same book, but position it for busy professionals that would allow them to have a much better career, that would help them increase their salary, that would help them then in turn live a better life, generate more revenue, have a better family life, all these types of things. And that's invaluable for a busy professional. Or why don't you just say a little bit more specifically? I'm going to go really specific. For executives that want to, six-figure executives or blue chip, again, same fundamental book. All you're doing is offering it to these professionals, right? Professionals that work with public companies, again, being very specific, that wants to relieve the stresses of running a Fortune 500 company in order to yield a higher return on investment for investors, right? It's fundamentally the same book. All you're doing is positioning it to another audience. So then what you do there is that book now goes from $10 to $50, $75, because you're incorporating now. And you could even start doing a whole series where you interview executives that have used your technique of mindfulness and how it's impacted the ROI of their business. Now you're becoming a category leader, because who else is talking about this at this level? It's fundamentally the same thing. What I'm saying is that almost the content would say almost identical, but because you're focusing on a different class of individuals, there that is a focus. Like you could do executives. How about athletes? So I'm going back to the Tesla model, right? The Tesla model first started off selling this roadster that was over $100,000, right? It's fast, yeah, we get it. It's fundamentally a car, right? That's it. So, and then they offer the $30,000 one, which is fundamentally the same thing, blah, 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 right? Fundamentals. But look at people with the high net income that this becomes, oh, it's only $100? That's fine. If it's going to transform my business and I'm running a multi-million-dollar business, what's $100? That's nothing. But if you go and offer that same book $100 to someone that's like, barely scraping by, they're going to say, damn, that's a luxury, $100. But if you're positioning it to someone that's spending $1,000 for lunch, what's $100? Then you say an upsell. Hey, then I have a coaching program that works specifically with high level, high net worth executives to make sure that their mindset is focused so that when they are going to close the next deal, their mindset is so sharp and they're so confident that closing the deal is going to be second nature. Does that make sense?
That's really wonderful. Thank you so much. You just completely changed the focus of what I was thinking about. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to go ahead and implement that. In fact, I just took out my notebook and I was writing it down.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And remember, this is recorded, so it's all there. My DMs are open. I'll definitely help you out because you, this is what I want to do. I'll help you for free to get this rolling if you want, because you had the courage and I want to reward courage. I want to reward that. So if you want some help, want me to help you put it all together, DM me. We'll get it started. We'll make it work out. Because, it's what I do. Got my peoples in here. Tribe Call Flex. I mean, you. So anyway, that's just a shout out to my homeboy. Anyway, so anyone that comes up that has the courage and put themselves out there, put them, is vulnerable. I already mentioned this recording. Help you out. Make sure you're on the right path. I think it's essential. We're all helping out each other, and I know everybody has different skill sets. This is my skill set, so DM me. We'll get together. We'll put that project. And what we could do is in a month's time or whatever it is, we'll do a follow up. Right? We'll do a follow up and say, hey, this is what we did. Today's the 27th, maybe October 27th. We'll do another follow up, Halloween special or whatever, and we talk about the results, and see what happens. And also, we want to reward you because I know it's late. There's 2 a.m, and I don't want to keep up. We've got another 10 minutes or so. If you can stay, that's cool. If not, you have to go. That's fine. But I really appreciate it. Let's connect. Let's talk. And yeah, I really appreciate your time because you could be anywhere. You could be sleeping for all, but you're here having this conversation, and I think it's vital. And I, greatly appreciate it. So hopefully that helps. Have any other questions or comments?
I think that's wonderful, and thank you so much. And me staying awake at this point of time was worth it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks to you.
I love it. I love
Thanks
it.
to everybody in the room.
Indeed. And I'm going to bring one of the stars of the last couple of hours. I've been name dropping from the beginning because she's waking me up early in the morning to get me stressed out in my apartment. Donna, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Your voice is so soothing in the morning, and the sunset and the bridges, and it's beautiful. If you haven't witnessed, you know what I'm going to do, because this is how I am. So let me go. And if you guys are not familiar, I am going to post the last, here we go. Morning 9 hours ago. If you haven't done it, boom, boom, boom. There it is. This is her live stream from this morning. Again, the beach, which is great. Anyway, so how could I best help, Donna?
I don't know. I appreciate, first of all the shout outs that you gave me in the beginning, all the specifics that you sent out on things that I can do to help grow and to sell products and things like that. And I'm not sure you can help me with the next thing, but my biggest obstacle right now is, I think, motivation. I think, as you know, I've been broadcasting live. I was doing it every day for 6 years, and I took a break this summer, and I just started back on the weekends and our long weekends, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I wasn't able to capitalize on what I was doing before, I podcast, I wrote a book as well, and I do the live stream, I was doing it daily. And I haven't really been able to capitalize and really support my dream. And I want to keep doing it for, like when you said, you remember why you started, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do to help other people. But then at some point I felt like I wasn't putting my energy in the right place.
Mm.
And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of like, that's why I'm just going to the weekends until I figure out what I need to do next. And, how do I keep moving forward?
Big question. Who do you serve? Who's your ideal? Who's your avatar? Have you?
My avatar is anyone going through a crisis, or anyone that just needs a little bit of peace in the morning, a daily way to start. And so, trying to make a change in their life or going through a crisis that just need to learn the skills to be able to cultivate peace within so that they can keep moving forward.
All right, so let's dig through the crisis part. Do you have any people that you've helped through a crisis, and what was their? Is it a personal crisis? Is the work crisis? Is a what kind of crisis is?
It can be any type of crisis, personal, relationship, or business. I lost your job, or just someone who's suffering. It could be a breakup or divorce, that type of thing.
Who have you helped specifically with? And I want to dig deep. And the reason why I'm asking you this, and I'll give you the background, is I understand the frustration of doing something repeatedly, not getting the results you want. So then it becomes taxing because it's like, oh, I put all this energy in, what I'm going to get back. So to launch something, it will be good to launch something with testimonials and with social proof. So if you have some people with crises in a certain category in particular, when you do launch something, you can say, look, I've already helped these 10, 5, 20 people in this particular area, because it's not just about the crisis. It's these people are firefighters. These people deal with crisis all the time, or again, going back to the executive example, or athletes and dealing with the crisis of like losing a team and then coming back to, change their life. Or I help this family get together because the crisis that they were facing because they lost a child or whatever the case might be. And, so it's good to have that kind of story, that narrative, because it goes back to what I mentioned before. When you have an audience, an avatar that's so broad, it makes it very difficult for people to say, hey, Donna helps who? Oh, she helps people in the services business that deal with like firefighters, policemen, and so on and so forth. Start the day off right so they could have a very productive day and not have to take time off, right? Something along those lines. That's the essence of what we're trying to get across. And it might take some time for you to figure that out. And I'll send you some guides to help you in this process. But I think once you go through that exercise of isolating who you want to work with specifically, then things are then the monetizational piece comes, and then your love for it becomes much more comes back, because you're going to get the gratification of helping specific people, and the specific people is the people that you want to work with. So does that make sense?
That does. Thank you.
So because I think that, like, even with meditation, right, one of the people in mind are not going to say, oh, just think of how to say just wish worry away, right? That's not as helpful as saying, think of the most troublesome thing in your life right now, and really, like, think about it, like almost like inhale it in, and then now let's inhale it all out. Let's flush it out of our system. You have something specific that you're worried about, and you're focusing on that. And then when you're focusing and inhale it and you excrete it from your body, then you feel so much better because you pinpointed the issue. And what we're doing is we're pinpointing the issue of who you're helping out, right? And when you're that focused, then your blinders set in. Then your mental and your content already starts focusing on. Then you can start creating your meditations based off of like, let's start thinking specifically, if you're a firefighter, of like, really go in and really being on game so you could help some more people. Then you start incorporating words into your meditation that cater to the audience. And then you can start expanding. Once you have a solution from one audience, you could have another audience. You could create a chicken soup for the soul or meditation type situation. And the beautiful thing, Donna, Devi, both begin with D, which is phenomenal. You guys could fundamentally do complementary things and work with each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's great. If you haven't connected Devi with Donna, connect with Devi. You guys are both brave soldiers and warriors. Connect, do some stuff together. I think it's important that we have no competition, because you're doing it from the beach, she's doing from India, different time zones, all these types of things. I could see a great partnership. I'm setting people up here left and right, which is great. Just can't wait to get Kev up in here because he's doing some work over. I just want to give a shout out to Kev because he's there. Anyway, so fundamentally, what I would say is look at who you want to work with. That's number one, and why you want to work with them. And then once you know who you want to work with, that's going to let you know what's their issue. And if you don't know what their issue is, ask them, hey, I've been running this meditation and I want to figure out what have you gotten from my meditation, right? What would be most beneficial? How has the meditation helped you? Those become testimonials right away. Now, let me give you because I'm an engineer and I always think of a formula, there's 4 fundamental questions a testimonial should answer. And you could even ask them this specific way. Number 1 is pain. 2, problem. Solution. 3, and call to action. 4. So, number 1, let's go through the pain. Life is stressful right now. That's the pain. What's the problem? Life is stressful, and there's not that many places where I could go to really fundamentally understand how to deal with this stress. That's the problem, right? What is the solution? Wow, Donna, every single day, she does meditation on the beach. She relaxes me, gives me a formula. She's been doing it for so long. She's very experienced at this. When I listen to her, I don't have to think because she does all the thinking for me. She guides me through this process of this pain and the stress. That's the solution. Contact Donna. What's the call to action? How does Donna want to be contacted, right? Donna wants to be contacted with her newsletter because I recommended the newsletter. And then you go in and you subscribe to the newsletter because you're going to know when your latest meditation is. It's daily, but you want them to take this action to put them into your network. So if you're interested in relieving the stress and getting fundamental tips on how to relieve your stress on a daily basis, subscribe to Donna's review newsletter, and she's going to get you on the right track to living a peaceful and successful life. Pain, problem, solution, call to action. Done right there. And because this is recorded, you can pretty fundamentally use everything I've said and implement it. See how that works? So hopefully that's been helpful. Did that work? Did that help?
That was helpful. Thank you so much, Rosalind.
Yeah. So, this is the reason why I've connected with Donna fundamentally, and this is a lesson for everybody, is because of her level of consistency. As you heard her say, she's been doing it for every day for how many years?
6 years.
6 years consistently. If she gave up, if she wasn't consistent, I wouldn't know who she was. I wouldn't have been able to give her a shout out in this space. So that becomes extremely important. Consistency is vital. That shows commitment, and that's how you develop know, like, and trust, right? You could use that to separate yourself from all these people that are fly-by-night meditationists. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it up. And who's doing it at the beach? Who's doing it with such consistency? Who's really committed to this, right? So use what you've done. And I know Kev, he's a master of really doing all these podcasts, of interviewing people, and he's got like 200 or so consistently. Consistency is so vital in what we do because we leverage that consistency. It's almost like us saying, 1 billion served McDonald's, right? Like, oh, that's a big number. We don't even know what a billion is. As humans, it's hard for us to deal with large quantities of information. It's just, that's the way it is, right? But we throw this around like if it's nothing. So as I said earlier, same offer that I gave to Debbie. Contact me, Don, if you want some more assistance. We'll go through like a simple workshop or whatever it is to get you on track. And then I'm curious to see and excited to see you be successful implementing it. And I'll help you to get successful. So just DM me. We'll get it going after one of your meditations or whatever. Because I want everyone to be successful. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing. And I'm glad that I opened it up. I'm glad we did more of an AMA because I like talking to people, even though I like talking to myself as well. So there it is. So Debbie, connect with Donna. Donna, connect with Debbie. I think you guys are going to do some great work. I already saw a DM for you, Debbie. So we're going to connect after that. Give me some time because I have I have to get mentored myself after this. So they're waiting for me for that. So I know Carl's here. I want to bring you up very briefly. And I know he's very succinct. So this is why I waited till the very end. So if you want to stay, this is great. Again, this is a recording and there's going to be recording right after this is done. So if you missed it, you came late, whatever it is, it's all there. It's all readily available. Check the tweet, check Monetize Mondays. I've already sent the tweet out via Habs. My people's there to help me distribute this. all over the interwebs. So, Carlos Senor, how are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Very
Great. I wanted to share something with you. You know that you are one of the most enthusiastic hosts in this universe.
in the universe.
Your enthusiasm is something that, I mean, you are pondering Donna's persistence, but persistent along with enthusiasm is just like so powerful. And you know what I discovered like this last weekend? That the word enthusiasm comes from the Old Greek entheus, that means full of God.
Wow.
So the enthusiastic persons mean that they are full of God. So how can you fail if you have God inside you moving your engine? Okay, so congratulations, because that's another secret we are discovering about you. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to know, because it's impossible to be enthusiastic and don't be a believer in
Right.
nature, in God, in the big energy, in everything. So thank you for being here. And can you imagine? The other day I was trying to measure. How can we measure all the help that you have been giving us with energy and with all the helping with the bugging out and the helping to monetize and giving all the breaking news about the new updates? I mean, it's unstoppable. You're like a machine, man. So
No, I appreciate it. I know when I was growing up, they used to say that I was full of it, but I'm glad that it was God. I really appreciate you mentioned that. I know you're a comedian, so I drop a couple jokes here every now and then. Not because hey, anybody that doesn't know, Carlos is a phenomenal stand-up comedian. He teaches stand-up comedy. He's worked with the greats. He's many years in the industry. So if you're unfamiliar with this guy's work, get connected, get familiar. Like Clinton Sparks would say, I definitely always want to show some love to the people that show me love, because I think it's vital, and we're a family here. So yes, so get familiar with him. So Carlos, have you done any Twitter Spaces on stand-up comedy? What's going on there?
Well, I have been working on my connection. Remember, I am in Venezuela, in South America, and we have terrible trolls with connection, and I'm about to solve it.
Oh,
There's
great.
a new pair of options with one of the private companies, and thank God, it seems that our L is gonna finish. So I'm planning to start as soon as I can, or have a consistent connection, and don't, because it's enough with the crashing caused by Twitter to have crashings caused by my connection. So I must be responsible with that. I cannot just get it into transmitting space if I'm not sure that the connection is going to resist.
So first I'm going to give someone that you tweeted first, and this is why I'm tweeting him, is Kev. If you go to the top of the space here, we got a Let's Talk returned on IG and Twitter, 9/19, that he posted up like last week. So shout out to Kev. Go follow him. Great little video about him. So I'm going to find something of Senor here. But Carlos is so great that his pinned tweets is promoting other people. In this particular case, is me. What's also great about Carlos is he's obviously Spanish and English, so a lot of his tweets are in Spanish. And when he's promoting, he does them both on Spanish and English, which is phenomenal. So okay, you agree. So what tweet am I going to put out for? I'm going to put a his situation. So this is just for people to get familiar with him. All women are innocent unless proven guilty. All men are guilty unless proven innocent. Blah blah blah. Unless proven innocent. There you go. So connect with Carlos. There it is. Look for his Twitter Spaces on stand-up comedy and much more. He's the perfect hype man. I pay him in cryptocurrency. That's why he's learning NFTs. No, just kidding. We haven't done anything like that. But
you know what's funny? That thing take all out, because I was doing that's a favor to a friend of mine who is studying he's studying for being a lawyer. So
I see.
This is a question for his thesis, great job, and that's not funny at all. It's just a very serious question.
I know.
So you can take it down and put with any other thing you wish.
Okay.
So it's not the best. Anyway, with my jokes, there is not much laughter either. But this is officially nothing funny. Okay.
Okay. Should I put the how to get rid of mosquitoes? You're the master of all these arbitrary polls, by the way. Should I put that your tweet about how to get rid of mosquitoes?
That could be, yes, because I'm worried about mosquitoes officially, and since I learned that the biggest killer of humankind after COVID, I guess now, but the mosquito is our worst enemy.
Wow.
There is a huge amount of people dying of mosquito bites every year.
Isn't that crazy?
So you have to be very careful about mosquitoes, and I don't see people being enough worried. So I have a couple of routines of stand-up comedy working around mosquitoes. But actually, I'm trying to conscientize the people, because if you Google a little bit, you will get shocked. I mean, it's terribly, terribly dangerous, the fucking mosquito. So be careful.
Okay. Yes. And remember,
and take care.
yes, remember, this is the family show, no cursing, so we'll let that one slide. You get one curse per recording. So, or series of once. All right, no worries.
All stand-up comedy problem. Sorry.
Yes, no worries. So we're coming to the hour. I just want to take a moment here to thank everybody that stayed to the end. Really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you literally are anywhere in the world, from India and from all over the place, Canada, Florida, and I really appreciate it. Canada, of course. A couple of different folks. So I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is recording. As soon as this is done, the recording is going to be available. Check the tweet. I've already tweeted about it. As a matter of fact, for those that don't know, let me just put the tweet out there for you with the actual recording. So blah, 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 blah. And boom, boom, boom. And let me find it before I go. Boom. And go here. Hold on a sec. So those people that, here we go. Boom. So follow that tweet, bookmark it, save it. So as soon as this is done, the recording will be available. I don't waste a lot of time. And next week, we'll be back to the interview formats. And if you have anyone that you feel that I should interview, please let me know. You could either send me a DM, or you could post it up. It's better that if you tweet it out, just so that people could see it. But if you feel more comfortable sending me a DM, that's fantastic too. Whatever you feel more comfortable. Anyone in the world, literally, that you want me to interview, I'll work at making sure that I could get that person, and if their schedule permits, obviously. So that's that. This is also going to be in the vault. Quick update. I know I've talked about the community. That's been kind of put on hold because I had a lot of projects. I definitely want to get the community going, the Monetized Movement community, where we're going to have a lot of these types of things in much more depth. I'm looking at making that a paid community because it's going to be a lot of really good content that I want to distribute there. So that's that for now. Yes.
I'm going to DM you about something very, very important.
Perfect.
Remember, everybody, that there is a huge community of blind people who actually do use the web, and now with these spaces is wonderful for them. But in the written tweets and in the illustrated and the graphical tweets, we forgot to put text in the alt text.
Alt text, yes, absolutely.
Stuff.
Very important.
So they need that. There is a woman called Blonde Historian. At Blonde Historian. She's a blind woman with a wonderful dog, a guiding dog called Ava. He's a golden retriever, and that follow that account is Blonde Historian.
Yeah. So what you can do is find that tweet it out. We'll share it so that people will know there's very good ideas and concepts. They're actually integrating much more alt text awareness within the. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. So we are wrapping up. Otherwise, we will continue talking, Carlos. But let's focus on and ending this as an FYI for those people that are interested in the alt text. Twitter is integrating much more awareness to make sure that people that upload images don't forget to put the alt text, which is a very good point. And we could talk about that in a future episode, but I want to respect people's time. We did go 11 minutes early, and I just want to keep this a nice, succinct 2 hours. So stay tuned for next Monetize Monday on next Monday, 3 to 5 Eastern Time. There's 2 other spaces that I run. One is the Twitter Spaces Tips, where I actually go, and that's the hashtag Twitter Spaces Tips. This is generally when I speak about the new version of Twitter, highlight the new features, test out the new features so that you have the ability to leverage those features for your creative process and monetizing your brand. And on Fridays, and it all depends on when the Twitter app comes out. So there could be another Twitter app right now. And if there is one right now, then obviously I'm going to host a space on it as soon as it comes out. So I'm going to quickly do a check. And let's see, currently, blah, 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 78. Let's see, boom, boom, boom. Just checking to see if there's a new available. That way people could go upload it. I don't see anything yet, but I predict later today or tomorrow there should be a new version of Twitter. And if there is, I'll host a space on it. It's generally hashtagged Twitter Spaces Tips. And then every Friday, if we are available, I host Bugging Out with Quinn, who's a Twitter Spaces developer engineer, and we solve your bugs that you have with Twitter Spaces. So those are the 3 that I host on a regular basis for you. And again, my DMs are open. I want to, again, be respectful of your time. Really appreciate everyone staying to the very end. And have a phenomenal day. And we will talk soon. And make sure, if you're interested in anything that any of the tweets that I posted up at the very top, to bookmark them, save them, and go from there. Give a shout out to Mr. DeRay, who's in the house. He hosts a space. Let me see if he still has it. A early morning space. I've been able to attend because I've been working. So it's generally 6:45. Tomorrow, actually, I'm going to post it here. Let me see. Where do I start? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. 12 minutes ago. Boom. So Mr. Dre is there, food for thought. So there's a threaded discussion there. And he's talking about, in life, we have successes and failures and things that we work towards. There are opportunities and risks associated with both. What do you feel are the most underrated risks of success? So follow that, and you could set a bookmark and a reminder for tomorrow, 6:45 Eastern Time. If you can make it, you can. It would be cool. I'm not sure if it records it or not, but there it is. Mr. Dre, thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. And anyone else, if you have some stuff to promote, I'm always the one to promote your stuff at the end of the space. So I'm about to end it. Have a fantastic day. Look for the next space when the new Twitter comes out, and on Friday when we address your Twitter Spaces bugs. All right. Have a phenomenal day and week and year if we don't speak. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. All right. Ciao for now. And I'll do my countdown. 3, 2, 1. Ciao.